My name is Mina. I love how every season is perfect for enjoying food. I'd say as I ate season after season, now at 36, I've grown quite a bit. Aiming for a model's figure? Well, not exactly, but I do wish to get back to the slim shape I had in my 20s. Today, I want to share a dramatic experience from my 20s. Please listen to my story. It happened a decade ago. Back then, I was a brand new wife, married to Ern, who was 2 years my senior. Being older, he often took the role of teaching me things. And why was that? Well, I had only part-time job experience, no experience living alone, and was quite naive about the world. I was working part-time when I started dating my boss, Ern, and we soon married, making me a clueless homemaker. My parents both worked, so I could handle household chores, but I was clueless about things like activating gas services after moving, or understanding security deposit and key money systems. I relied heavily on my husband for these. At work, I was learning from my husband, and at home, he was teaching me things too. This, I believe, was our downfall. He began to comment on every little thing. For instance, if I finished chores and watched TV, he'd say, "Didn't you stretch out the laundry properly? It looks wrinkled." If I cooked, he'd complain, "Carrots again? Using the same ingredient 2 days in a row isn't good." And while vacuuming, he'd critique, "You shouldn't stretch the cord so much." His remarks started to feel like he had too many personal rules. At first, I thought maybe he was right about the laundry or getting tired of the same ingredients. I listened to him. But then he'd find something new to criticize. When I bought new clothes with my savings, he scolded, "Why do you need new clothes when you're just at home? Don't be extravagant." Though I bought it with my own savings. If I went shopping in shabby clothes, he'd surely say, "That's embarrassing." I couldn't win. What did he expect me to do? To him, it might have felt like he was just teaching me, but he had turned into a constant nag. Yet he did nothing himself. He would just tell me what to do without lifting a finger. Naturally, he never did any housework. He had lived alone and could obviously handle chores, given his complaints about mine. But he would insist, "I'm tired from working all day. I don't want to work at home too. You're the homemaker, so let's divide the roles." And he never helped. Initially, I thought there was some reason in my husband's words. I take care of the house. In exchange, he earns the living expenses. It seemed like a fair division of labor. Little did I know just how much he would nag. Gradually, I couldn't help but think, if you have so many complaints, why don't you do it yourself? I thought about working part-time, to be on equal footing, and discussed it with him, but he immediately dismissed the idea. When I asked why, his answer was shocking. "What's gotten into you, wanting to work so much? You're not planning to cheat, are you?" he said. What kind of reasoning is that? If he's that worried about someone else taking me away, I'd wish he'd cherish me more daily. But to him, all this was supposedly for my sake. And he felt he was protecting me, keeping me safe from the dangers of the outside world by not letting me work part-time. But honestly, such a roundabout protection is hardly appreciated. I'd rather have a token of appreciation like some fancy rusks sent my way. I know I'm not unloved, but there's a lack of kindness, a lack of consideration. Gradually, I started feeling resentful towards my husband. Then one day, "Mina, why didn't you wake me up?" he erupted, in his pajamas and bed hair, completely losing his dignity. "Huh? You never asked me to wake you up, and you always set an alarm because the time you need to get up varies depending on your work schedule. You can wake up on your own." "I forgot to set the alarm? It's your fault I overslept." "Huh?" I couldn't help but respond in disbelief. It's absurd to blame me for his oversleeping because he forgot to set his daily alarm. Especially since I wasn't even informed about what time he needed to wake up today. "Seriously, you're so inconsiderate. I wanted a leisurely morning, and now I have to rush to work. Be more careful from now on." I wish he'd just sleep forever. Oblivious to my growing irritation, he moved around noisily, constantly complaining, hastily washed his face, and left for work, nearly still in bed hair. It's so infuriating. Maybe for dinner tonight, I'll make everything he dislikes. Even as I harbored such ill thoughts, I diligently prepared dinner and waited for my husband that night. When he returned, I greeted him with the usual, "Welcome back," only to be angrily rebuked. "Enough is enough." Confused, I asked what happened, and it turned out he forgot something important due to his oversleeping in the morning. "I needed those documents for a meeting, and I forgot them because I overslept.
It's your fault for not waking me up. One disaster after another.
But aren't I the one experiencing the real disaster here? I'm being scolded for something I didn't do. However, I know from experience that arguing back only leads to more anger. I know it well from past experience. Recently, I bought a bunch of new sponges for the bathtub because the old ones were worn out, and he scolded me for unnecessary spending. When I explained, I bought them in bulk because they were on sale and will need them eventually, he lectured me even louder.
Don't make excuses. Only buy what's necessary in the necessary amount.
Arguing back is like pouring oil on fire, only increasing the discomfort. So for my own peace of mind, I stayed silent. After all, next week, we're visiting the in-laws' house for the first time since our marriage. It's for a Thanksgiving greeting. Just the thought of going to the unfamiliar in-laws' house is depressing. I want to lighten my mood as much as possible before that. I kept telling myself, endure it, Mina, just endure. And finally, the day of visiting the in-laws' house arrived. My husband was in a good mood that day, and while there were the usual naggings, it didn't escalate into anything serious. He was smiling so much, I found it somewhat eerie. Is he that happy to visit the in-laws' house? But maybe I should have sensed danger in my husband's behavior. When relatives gathered in the living room, the incident happened.
Ern, how's married life? Must be the happiest time, right?
A tipsy relative asked him.
Well, it's quite challenging, my husband replied. Can't understand your wife's feelings, huh? To be young. No, it's different. She's really naive, always wasting money and causing me trouble. What?
I was shocked to hear this exchange from a distance, and my husband, noticing me, looked over with a mocking smile.
While we're at it, she just recently bought a ridiculous amount of cleaning supplies for no reason. She makes excuses, saying they're consumables, and it's better to buy in bulk. Well, isn't that okay? She's going to use them, right? No, it's not just that. Even her cooking has issues, like using the same vegetables 2 days in a row. She probably buys groceries in bulk, without considering expiration dates. And she buys clothes unnecessarily, even though she doesn't work. Vegetables are often sold in bags, and, every couple has their issues.
I almost laughed at how the relative was trying to wrap up the conversation safely, realizing that my husband was being a bit unreasonable.
No, you don't get it, Uncle. It's not just that. She's causing me trouble with her wasteful spending and naivety. Right, Mina? You can't do anything. You're inconsiderate, sloppy with chores, and have no sense of money.
I was startled when he suddenly turned the conversation to me. I was irritated by his smug face. I admit I'm naive, but I don't recall being wasteful. I bought the clothes with my own savings, and the cleaning supplies were necessary. It seemed the relatives understood this too. I wasn't the strange one here. My husband, who still blames me for oversleeping, seemed to want to embarrass me in front of everyone as revenge. He wanted to show off.
Look how I am taking care of my incapable wife. What a great husband I am.
Maintaining his false dignity at home and now trying to display it outside. Ugh, how infuriating.
That's right, everyone. Please help educate my wife. Listen, Mina, if you can't keep the food budget under $50 a month, we'll divorce. How about that? Try it starting this month.
Huh? Everyone, including me, looked at him as if he'd lost his mind. Living alone, maybe you could manage a $50 monthly food budget? Barely. I'm good at household management, and I've already been saving a lot on food expenses. My husband just doesn't notice. But to live on $50 for 2 people a month? And to use divorce as a condition? He must think I dread divorce and desperately try to make $50 dinners. He looked at me with a smug, victorious smile. Maybe he thinks I'll come begging to him. Well, he's got nerve. I don't particularly care about divorce, but I'm not one to back down from a challenge. Got it. Be ready when we get home, I said with a smile. 2 days later, back from the in-laws' house, our usual life resumed. My husband sneered.
Now, let's see if you can manage with a $50 food budget starting today. If you want to apologize, now's the time.
I can do this. That day, I made curry. It was the usual richly filled curry, so my husband somewhat triumphantly said,
Hey, starting with this on our first day, $50 will be tough. You really don't think things through.
The next day, I served curry again. He remarked,
The same menu 2 days in a row? Isn't that a bit sneaky? Well, fine. If I don't let this slide, you'll end up divorced. I won't make a rule against repeated menus.
The following day, again, it was curry. Eating the menu served despite complaining, he now had to accept the repeated meals because of the rule he made. But today, after taking a bite, he asked,
Hey, isn't this diluted?
Diluted? Of course.
Huh?
Every day, I add a little water and keep simmering it. I call it infinite curry. It's gradually becoming curry-flavored water, a special saving dish.
What? You're kidding. I thought something was off. Yesterday it was still good, but today it's way too watery.
No one said curry with added water is off limits. If you don't like it, don't eat it. But then make your own meals. Remember, it's your rule. The food budget stays under $50 a month, or else divorce, right? Seemingly not wanting to divorce, my husband silently continued eating the infinite curry. A week or so of infinite curry later, when the pot was finally empty, he was visibly relieved. The next morning he smirked.
What will you feed me today? Apologize now if you want.
I smiled back. Look forward to it. I'll put extra effort into it. That night, what awaited my husband was a mountain of lettuce on a plate and a bottle of salt.
Huh?
After a small exclamation, he alternated between staring at the lettuce and me in silence. Here's your dinner. I revived it with water. There's plenty more, so feel free to eat as much lettuce as you like.
You're joking, right?
If you don't like it, feel free to serve an expensive dinner and go for that divorce.
No.
Around this time, I began to use the word divorce to intimidate my husband. It was a reversal of our roles. Although he was domineering, I knew well that my husband loved me. He just wanted to be the one in charge. Even the incident at the in-laws' house was likely just his way of trying to embarrass me a little. His repeated offers for me to apologize suggested he wasn't serious about divorcing. That's why I went along with his unreasonable demands, confident that I could turn the tables. But seeing such a bossy person silently eating lettuce, almost in tears, was amusing. Looks like lettuce again tomorrow. With that thought, I continued serving lettuce for about 4 days. However, realizing that the daily fiber overload was upsetting his stomach, I decided not to keep it up for a week. I'm not a monster, after all. Since he had a troubled stomach, why not make something gentle for it? That evening, dinner became soup and rice, mostly liquid. I wondered if he would complain, but this time he gratefully ate the rice, saying,
Ah, rice.
It seems the modest lettuce lifestyle had humbled him, almost like a monk. Excellent. Notably, my husband, who had gained some weight after marriage, seemed to be slimming down. Taking care of my husband's health, what a good wife I am, or so I joked to myself. After nearly a week of soup life,
Please, just a bit more nutrition in the meals,
he pleaded. I didn't remember using mind control just by cooking, but it seems food is indeed important to humans. Gradually, my husband had started speaking politely to me. Perhaps because every time he argued, I'd retort with, Then it's divorce. Really, he flaunted the threat of divorce, but when faced with the possibility, he became fearful. How pitiful. Something with more nutrients. Okay. We've been at this for a while now, so fine. I'll indulge your whim. Still within the $50 budget, though.
Thank you.
That night, I served him salt, water, and beef fat. The beef fat was free from the supermarket's meat section. The water was fresh from our tap, directly from the waterworks, and since everything else was virtually free, I chose rock salt for its quality. It's rich in magnesium, calcium, and potassium. Nutritionally wonderful. Here you go, the nutrients you asked for, I said with a smile.
What? This isn't even cooking anymore.
You said to limit the food budget to $50, but you never specified it had to be cooking. Lettuce isn't really cooking either, right? It's no different.
But this is quite a stretch.
So let's divorce then. Most of the budget was spent on that first curry, so keeping it under $50 is impossible now.
What?
He went pale at my lie. He really didn't want to divorce. Thank you for everything. Let's get divorced.
Wait!
What's the matter? You wanted to educate me in front of the relatives. Weren't you dissatisfied with everything I do and thinking of divorce? As I asked with a sly smile, he had tears brimming in his eyes.
It's not that. I just wanted to be a strong husband in front of you. To be seen as great and capable.
I always thought you were constantly annoying and troublesome. You negated everything I did. It's natural to feel that way.
You should have told me.
I did argue back, didn't I? But you never listened, always calling it excuses. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. He fell silent, looking down, and finally, tears fell. If you continue to behave selfishly like that, I will really divorce you. You may not have been serious about it, but flaunting divorce means you're okay with the other person drifting away.
I'm really sorry. I think I created this image of a husband in my mind. Being older, I thought I had to be relied upon. But I also took advantage of you, thinking you'd do everything. I can't be that imposing outside, but I assumed you'd accept it, and I took you for granted.
After confessing his true feelings while crying, he prostrated himself on the floor.
I mean it. I'll change my ways. I'll prioritize you, Mina, above everything. I won't threaten you with divorce or do anything despicable. I'll listen to your words and feelings. I want to be with you.
What should I do? Upon hearing my words, he trembled momentarily. I won't forgive everything that's happened, but I have conditions for you. If you agree to them, I won't divorce you.
Are you saying you'll forgive me?
I said I won't forgive. Any little problem, and it's instant divorce. You won't have a say in it.
I'm sorry.
My husband apologized again, completely subdued. I'm going to get a part-time job. This way we'll be equals. So you'll do housework too, understanding my burden. We're a couple after all. We should share both the good and the bad.
Understood.
But just so you know, housework doesn't mean cooking with ingredients I bought or taking out trash I gathered, okay?
What?
You'll go shopping and plan meals? Taking out the trash includes sorting it first. Be mindful of saving on groceries and managing savings. Think you can do it? He swallowed hard, likely thinking it impossible. But soon he said,
I'll do it. I'll do as you say. But please, teach me what I don't know.
That's an easy request. I always wanted a mutually supportive relationship. Okay, deal. Oh, and one more thing. Show me your sincerity in whatever way you can. This is your final condition. Your husband training, I suppose. He looked more troubled at the request to show sincerity than doing housework. Understandably. He had never even thanked me for housework before. Just show sincerity in any form. Must be baffling for him. Being told what to do is easier, he might think. But him figuring it out will surely lead to actions that show he cares. After a silence, he said,
I'll try.
10 years have passed since then. In hindsight, those initial conditions might have been too lenient. I later made them stricter. For a year and a half, the same duration I did after marriage, you will do all the housework every day, take care of yourself, and if I express any dissatisfaction, correct it immediately. Never make me uncomfortable. Instant divorce if you fail or complain. Also, wake me up on time every morning, set the alarm yourself. It's the same as what I had been doing, but more demanding because of the threat of divorce. It was almost slave-like in its lack of tolerance for failure. Yet he managed to pull through and met the conditions after a year and a half. After that, I acknowledged his change of heart. I planned to split the household chores with him, but somehow he naturally ended up doing most of the housework except for cooking dinner. During the period when he was conditioned to do housework, he took care of dinner using pre-made meals, but afterwards, since I got home earlier from my part-time job, I started handling it. Or rather, there's not much left for me to do if I don't. However, it seems my husband finds even that regrettable. He now wakes up earlier than me to prepare breakfast with dessert, handles the trash, and even wakes me up if I oversleep. Apparently, he's become skilled in cooking and cleaning, and seeing me genuinely happy about it seems to bring him joy. The show of sincerity I asked of my husband has become indistinguishable from his everyday actions towards me, doing things that he thinks will please me. On ordinary days, he brings home my favorite foods, and if I casually mention a dish looks tasty on TV, he learns the recipe and tries hard to make it. He reflects on the past, saying,
Instead of showing off and being bossy, I should have done things that make you smile.
Now, he's so good at Italian and Chinese cuisine, I wonder if he's a professional. He even attended cooking classes secretly. It's amazing how people can change. His kindness and transformation are delightful. But I need to be careful not to become a spoiled wife who is pampered too much. Divorce was an option back then. But he hadn't cheated or lacked love for me. It was just that his way of expressing it was wrong or misguided. It was a mistake due to his clumsiness. If he ever reverted to being domineering, I wouldn't hesitate to choose divorce. but that worry seems unnecessary now. He's become a doting father to our now 5-year-old daughter, making whole cakes with patissier-level skills for snacks. If I let go of the past, he's a husband who doesn't stray, earns a decent income, and actively participates in housework and parenting. A prime catch indeed. My mom friends and colleagues at my part-time job always envy me when I talk about him. Everyone has failures and flaws. I'm sure I caused trouble for him too, being naive. We're both at fault. The important thing is how we face and control our own mistakes and flaws. We want to show our child that as a couple, we can speak openly about our shortcomings and work on them together. But there's a lingering effect on my husband. Sorry, did I do something wrong? He gets scared whenever I make curry for dinner. Does Daddy not like curry? Our daughter tilts her head. Yeah, weird Daddy. It's yummy though. Our home is peaceful today.